Hey everyone, James Lynch here. In today's video, I'm going to take a look at the top 10 most followed UFC fighters on Instagram. If you've watched this channel before, I've done different videos like, top MMA YouTubers, that type of stuff. So I figured we'd do something on the social media side of things. And a quick shout out to Home of Fight. They're the ones who actually inspired me to do this video. They have a similar article up there. Make sure you go check out Home of Fight. I do some interviews for them. So we'll start at number 10. We're going to stick with active UFC fighters, and then I'll do a couple honorable mentions. Coming in at number 10 is Max Holloway. Some of these numbers, by the way, looking back, were a little surprising in terms of how many people follow them, but Max Holloway in the 10 spot at 4.6 million followers. Pretty incredible. Of course, Holloway's been with the UFC for a long time. He's the former featherweight champion. He's the current BMF champion, which I would consider BMF lightweight champion, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Holloway being up here, not surprised at all. He does a lot of streaming as well, gaming, all that stuff. So Holloway, very popular fighter. Not surprised at all to see him make the top 10. 4.6 million followers, though. That's a lot of people. So pretty cool to see him come in there. Okay, coming in at the next spot, Dustin Poirier. Actually surprised, maybe I'm wrong about this. I'm surprised that Holloway's behind Poirier, for being honest. Dustin Poirier, again, very popular fighter, came into the UFC around the same time Max Holloway did. Obviously, former interim champions, has fought for the title a couple times, the lightweight title. Fan favorite. He's got maybe a fight or two left in his career, or I believe he has one more fight left, is kind of what he's saying, wants a big fight on the way out. But I know Poirier's popular, fans really like him, but again, a little bit surprised to see him ahead of Holloway, but 5.4 million followers, very impressive there for Dustin Poirier. Okay, this one not super surprising. Alex Pereira, 6.5 million followers, coming in at a number 8 spot. What can you say? I mean, Shama, everything. I mean, everyone's into Pereira, right? Like, he's had a lot of success coming over from the world of kickboxing. He's a 2-division UFC champion. He's the current light heavyweight champion right now, going to be fighting Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313. I mean, you just see his fans and how they are on social media. It's not a surprise to see him have 6.5 million followers. One of the most exciting, entertaining fighters in the UFC, a knockout artist. Pereira up here, not surprising at all, but pretty incredible though if you think about it, right? Like, he's only been in the UFC a couple years. Granted, he did have that following from Glory Kickboxing, but for him to be ahead of Holloway and Poirier, very impressive considering how much longer Poirier and Holloway have been in the UFC. Okay, coming in ahead of him, not super shocked by this one considering what he's done over the last year and a bit. El Matador, Ilia Topuria. So he's got 6.6 million followers. So he's just slightly ahead of Alex Pereira. I say it all the time. You're not going to have many UFC fighters getting to go on the field for Real Madrid. I mean, him winning the title was a huge deal. He's Georgian. He's also from Spain. So he's got, multiple followings there. And he's also a knockout artist. Very exciting. So not super shocked to see him get this many followers. And, even at the time of recording this, he just did like the Full Send podcast. Like, he's out there, man. He's certainly very popular. We're waiting to hear what the next move is with him. Is it going to be a featherweight title defense? Is it going to be a super fight with Islam Makhachev? At the time I'm recording this, still waiting to see what happens here. But Ilia Topuria, 6.6 million followers. Again, a guy who has not been in the UFC that long. It's pretty incredible to see how much of a following he has. Okay, coming after that, not surprised too much here. Charles Oliveira, 8 million followers. So Oliveira ahead of Ilia Topuria. He's a fan favorite, exciting fighter. Just incredible story too, right? Like, the whole narrative with Oliveira, came in the UFC, was sort of thought as a prospect that didn't really work out. And then he went on an incredible winning streak, won the title, lost the title. We'll see if he gets a title shot here soon. He's coming off that win over Michael Chandler. No news on his next fight, but Charles Oliveira, I mean, be hard pressed to find anyone that doesn't like Charles Oliveira. Great fighter, exciting fight style. Lots of good things to say about Charles Oliveira. Coming in ahead of him, Israel Adesanya, 8.7 million followers. Again, same sort of thing with like Holloway, like really did a good job of, the stuff outside the cage as well. Like, he has his YouTube channel, does a lot of different stuff. And again, when he was middleweight champion, he was a big ticket seller in terms of what the UFC felt about him and putting him in good opportunities. He's exciting. He's got the little anime angle as well that a lot of people are into. Exciting fight style too. So again, Adesanya, right up there, almost 9 million followers. Very, very impressive there. Of course, Adesanya getting, fan bases from all over the world in terms of what he's been able to do. I know he's coming off a loss in his last fight to Nasruddin Imavov, but I still think there's a couple big fights left for him in the division. We'll see what happens with his career going forward. It seems like he's taking a bit of a break right now. Ahead of Israel Adesanya is someone that's also in his division and most likely, should be fighting for the middleweight title next, and that's Khamzat Chimaev. 9.4 million followers on Instagram. Almost, that's incredible. So he's got more fall, and same sort of thing with Chimaev. Like I feel like Chimaev and Ilia Topuria kind of came in the UFC around the same time. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like Chimaev hasn't been in the UFC for that long. But you know what his start was like. I mean, he was getting these fights frequently, and then obviously things have slowed down a bit with his health issues. But right now, looks like he's going to be fighting champion Dricus du Plessis next. Really excited for that fight. 9.4 million followers. Very impressive for him, considering that. Yeah, he's not even a UFC champion, but people are already so amped about him and how he fights that he's certainly got a top billing here at 9.4. It's crazy to think that there's fighters that have more than 9.4 million followers, but we got 3 left that we got to get to. This one shouldn't be a big surprise here. John Bones Jones, 9.5 million followers. He's technically not retired yet, although I have my suspicion he might not be fighting again, but we'll see. So just slightly ahead of Chimaev here. So think about it. Chimaev's 9.4. John Jones has been in the UFC since I can't remember how long. 2000 and I mean, it's got to be like what, 2008, I think, maybe around there. And Chimaev's just slightly behind him. Now, granted, Jones has not fought a whole lot the last couple of years, but he's still the biggest American UFC star that they have right now. So 9.5 million followers, very interesting. And again, this is something to keep in mind too, where, these numbers are probably going to change as well. Like, don't be surprised if Chimaev passes John Jones, the more active he is. That's another thing to kind of keep in mind too. So John Jones coming in our top 3. Coming in at number 2, Islam Makhachev, no surprises there. 9.8 million followers, of course, lightweight champion. People want to see him move up and fight for the welterweight belt. Maybe that happens. Maybe he fights Ilia Topuria. We'll see. But not a super surprise there. I mean, again, another huge fan base. I mean, it's a humongous fan base that he has, right? And it's not just fans of Dagestanis. It's also the Muslim fans as well. He's got a huge following there that certainly reflects. And even from a content perspective, you see anything with Islam Makhachev really does well. So Islam coming in at 9.8. We'll see if he can get to 10 million here in the next bit, but he's getting very close to it. So very impressive here. And coming in at number 1, he's still not technically retired yet. I know he said it time and time again, but it's the biggest name in MMA. There's no questions asked. It's Conor McGregor, 46.9 million followers. It's crazy. Like, what a jump, right? Now, again, same thing. Conor's been in the UFC for a long time. I know he hasn't fought in a number of years. He's actually coming off a loss, but again, Conor's Conor. Whether you love him, you hate him, people are still paying attention to him. 46.9 million followers. Like, that is crazy. So, yeah. I don't know if we'll have a UFC, like those fighters I just mentioned that are currently active. I don't know if they're ever going to get to the McGregor stardom level. Like I've said this before, I don't know in my lifetime if we'll ever see someone like Conor McGregor that has that type of star power that he has. It's really, a combination of a number of things. It's his exciting fight style. It's his, promos and trash talk. And it's the fact that he's from Ireland. I think if Conor McGregor was from somewhere else that, didn't really like if he was American, I always say this, and this is my theory here, and you guys let me know in the comments what you think about this, but I think if Conor McGregor was American, he'd be popular, but you're still competing with other American athletes. Whereas like in Ireland, like, other than maybe like what, Rory McIlroy, like there's only a handful of really like big Irish, superstar athletes. Conor kind of took the reins with that and became, I think, the most popular one out there. So I think that helps his case too, being that he's from, not from like a big country, right? So, Conor McGregor still in the number 1 spot at 46.9. Wanted to do a quick honorable mention here. Sugar Sean O'Malley coming in at 4.4 million followers. I actually thought he'd have a little bit more, but guess not. That's one to kind of consider in terms of star power and all that. And another one I was kind of curious about. I don't know if we'll ever get to that level, but I know Dricus du Plessis is pretty popular, but a little surprised to see he's a lot lower here. 733,000 followers. We'll see if he gets to 1 million, but again, another guy that, because I manage content all the time. I kind of see like fighter trends and how people are thinking. Like 733K, it almost seems like that number should be higher, but he's one as well that people will kind of look to in terms of Instagram followers. So those are some honorable mentions. Now let's get to some fighters that are retired, and we'll start again going from, I'll go the opposite direction now. I'll go top followed retired UFC athletes, and coming in at number 1, not that far behind, Conor McGregor. Actually, I was surprised by these numbers. Habib Nurmagomedov, 38.4 million followers. And what's crazy too is that, I mentioned with Conor, he's got kind of the triple threat: exciting fighter, really good promo, like trash talk, all that. And then, again, from Ireland. Well, Habib's got the region part covered because, again, Dagestan, we know there's, they love their fighters. And obviously the Muslim fan base as well. but it's the fact that Khabib's not like a huge trash talker, right? Like he does a bit of trash talk. I'll give him that, but it's not the same of what Conor does. He's an exciting fighter too, maybe not to the level of Conor, but still 38.4 million followers. Like that's super impressive. And it's just amazing for a guy who has not fought in a while that he is still getting that type of following. Khabib right up there as well too. So if Khabib was still active, he would be right behind Conor McGregor. And that, again, that jump going from John Jones to, or I guess it would be Islam, going from Islam to Khabib and Conor. I mean, it's such a huge jump here. I don't know if we'll get fighters that will reach that level of stardom, but good for Khabib coming in there. Of course, Ronda Rousey with a big following as well, 17.2 million followers. If you're a newer MMA fan, I don't even really think you can put it into words how big Ronda Rousey was when she was in her prime, when she was winning fights in like 20 seconds. Like there was a couple fights in a row where Ronda Rousey, like if you put the combined highlight reel, she was, I think it was like under a minute or something. It was crazy. So, you know, newer fans look at her as, oh, Ronda was overrated, whatever. No, back in the day, nobody was hotter than Ronda Rousey in terms of like, you know, highlights and promos and all that. And the thing was like, fans didn't really like, a lot of fans weren't like, you know, huge like fans of her. They liked how she performed, and that was enough that people wanted to follow and see what she was doing. So Ronda Rousey coming in at 17.2. We'll do a couple more here and then we'll get out of here. George St. Pierre, 5.5 million followers. So again, St. Pierre, I mean, I live in Canada, one of the most popular athletes of all time. Little surprised I actually think this number is a little bit low at 5.5. Like we've got current UFC fighters that are more popular than him, which is a bit surprising. But again, St. Pierre, not really like a big trash talk guy. He was kind of the opposite. Not the most entertaining fight style either, right? Like winning a lot of fights by decision. But, you know, you ask most fighters who they respect, who they looked up to, it's George St. Pierre. So he's not about the social media followers. And then Nate Diaz, 7.1 million followers. I actually got that in the wrong order. So Nate Diaz has more followers than George St. Pierre. That's pretty crazy. If you think about what George has accomplished compared to Nate. And then coming in just behind George St. Pierre is Nate's brother, Nick Diaz, 2.2 million followers. He has not fought in a bit, but again, the Diaz fans, another big fan base in MMA. So I want to know what you guys think of this list. Are there any names on here that surprise you? Is there any names I missed? I know there's a few others. Like I know Cody Garbrandt's an example who has like 1 million followers. You know, but he's someone as well that didn't crack the top 10 in terms of, you know, the lowest end was what, Sean O'Malley, I guess. And we'll see how these numbers go. I might do a video on this later and kind of get some updated numbers here, but it does seem like, you know, with the rise of social media that certain fighters, if they continue doing what they're doing, they're going to get even higher into that stardom. But I am curious, and let me know in the comments about this too. Do you think there will be a fighter that hits double digits in terms of followers, like anything over, you know, 10 million? Do you think we'll start seeing that soon with some of these fighters? I mean, Islam looks like he's headed there. Can Islam get to like 20, 30 million? I'm curious about that. Let me know what you guys think. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. And if you like this type of video content, let me know in the comments. We'll be happy to do more of this because I do like doing this type of stuff. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.